Will this episode make up for the last one? Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 8 of the amazing digital circus. So, last episode, I was not a fan of. I was aggressively not a fan of. To the point where I've only seen it maybe twice. Which is unusual for me. I mean, that might sound like not that big a deal to most people. But usually when I watch something that I really enjoy, and a new episode comes out, I'll usually watch a bunch of other people's reactions to it, not just, watching it for my own. And this time, or last time, I didn't watch most reactions to it. Because I didn't want to watch the episode again. And as I stated last time, the reason for this kind of comes down to the ending. The twist ending that basically amounts to everything you just watched was for nothing. And I understand that there is sort of like a point to that. The entire point being Kane always lies, not to really trust anything in the digital circus, and all of that jazz. But in the end, I just feel like it came across as a big slap in the face. Because the entire episode, you're given this false hope that we're actually going to be making progress towards the end. And mind you, even, last time, I thought that was the penultimate episode. Turns out this is the penultimate episode. There's 9 episodes total, not 8. I was confused about that. But even with realizing that last episode wasn't the second to last, and there's this episode and then the next one, it still feels like a slap in the face. It still feels like you were being led on the entire time, and it just, I think I compared it to the entire, really negative trope, but it was all just a dream. The trope that everybody hates, and for good reason. Because it's it feels like the viewer or, reader, player, depending on what kind of medium you're talking about, in this case, viewer, is being led on this entire wild goose chase of an episode, making them think it's going to be important, making them think that we're actually making progress towards, real development in terms of the story, in terms of character work, in terms of just the lore behind everything, and then just finding out everything was false at the end, that everything was a lie, and the only actual moment that mattered in the entirety of the episode was this one line at the end that I think Kinger said, something about the first the first person to abstract, which was, I can't remember the name. I can't think of it right now, but yeah, it's like that was the only moment in the entire episode that meant anything. And it just feels like everything else was a waste of time. And some people might be super into that. Some people might like the rug pull. They might find that really fascinating and feel that it gives us a good view into Kane as a character and stuff, and that's fine. You're allowed to view this however you want. But when I'm doing these reactions, I am going to share my thoughts. And they're allowed to be different than yours, just as yours are allowed to be different than mine. It's all subjective. And so in my opinion, with my thoughts, my subjective viewpoint, I didn't like it. I felt betrayed. It really felt like it was just kind of like taking all these ideas that fans had been theorizing about and then just basically giving the fans a big middle finger and telling them it's like your ideas don't matter. Which, I mean, if you want to say like, yeah, we're telling our own story and your ideas aren't going to affect that, your theories aren't going to change that, whatever is happening is going to happen, you can do that in a better way. And I'm not saying that that's what they did. I'm not trying to make any accusations. I'm not saying that Gooseworks or Glitch or anyone were like actually making this episode as a big middle finger to the fans. I don't believe that for a second. This isn't Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go makes episodes intentionally as a middle finger to the fans. I mean, the viewers, I should say, because, like, let's be honest, unless you're 5, who's a fan of Teen Titans Go? But still, you get the point. I'm not trying to accuse Goose or Glitch of anything here. I'm just saying that's what it felt like from a viewing experience. Even if it's not the case, it still gave off that impression. And even if accidentally, you never want to give that impression to fans. And I know last episode was super divisive. And I feel like Goose and Glitch and everyone knew it was going to be. I feel like everyone who worked on the episode knew ahead of time how divisive it was going to be. Because I've heard people absolutely echo my feelings on this. But I've also heard people defend the episode. I've seen both sides of this argument, and it's very split. And in some ways, that's good. Because it means the episode did its job. Because it was, again, clearly intending to divide fans. But it's just it's just a case of where I just can't see the positives in it. It's one of those things that I don't like. And I don't think that's going to really change. There might be an exception here or there where it's like, oh, there might be 1 or 2 examples where I feel it's done well, but I can't even really think of any off the top of my head. It's like there are some tropes out there where it's like, oh, I dislike the trope in general, but sometimes it can be done in a way to where I can accept it. A lot of times it depends on the series or movie or game or whatever else, how its tone typically is, and whether or not the trope can work into that. Like, there's a lot of tropes that I don't like that are used in the franchise slash well, I would say just franchise for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And a lot of those tropes I wouldn't like in a lot of other shows. But JoJo is meant to be kind of like a satire. It's meant to parody other like standard battle shonen, especially because of when JoJo started coming out, the early stuff like Fist of the North Star and whatnot. It's meant to be comedic and over the top and ridiculous and silly. That's the tone that JoJo is going for. And because of that, I can accept a lot more. And even then, there's still some things that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has done that I don't like. there are some things that I feel that they just didn't do well. So it just depends. And for Amazing Digital Circus, with this series so focused on the mystery and the lore, I feel like doing a rug pull like that when everyone is so aggressively invested in trying to figure this series out, it comes across as an insult, even if unintended. That'd be like doing some kind of big rug pull like that for Gravity Falls. And I just feel like it wouldn't work there either. And I'm making the comparison because, again, the mystery element that all the fans are trying to solve. So, that's just my view on it. But I don't know anything about this episode going into it. I've stayed away from all trailers and spoilers, as I typically do. And I haven't seen anything online. I'm recording this, since if you're watching these pre-thoughts, you're watching on YouTube. I'm recording this the day after it came out. You're seeing it a week later. I'm recording this the 21st. You'll be seeing this the 28th on YouTube. But yeah, it's on Patreon on the date I'm recording this, but yeah. I haven't seen anything since it came out yesterday as of recording. And I don't know if I've just gotten lucky. I haven't been like actively like trying to avoid it necessarily. I just haven't seen anything. So there's that. I am, based off of where we had left off and everything we've gotten, I'm hoping that this episode actually gives us lore stuff. And considering where Jax is currently at in the story, I'm assuming Jax is going to, like, continue his downward spiral that's been going on. But other than that, I couldn't even begin to guess. Oh, Kane. 2 episodes ago, we saw there was an after credits scene where Kane, like, started glitching. And people had been theorizing that he might be, like, getting close to abstracting, which would be very fascinating. Since he's an AI and everything, it's like, does abstracting work the same for him as it does for the humans? So I'm very curious about that. We didn't see anything. I don't think we saw much of anything with that last episode. There might have been, like, a little hint at it again, but maybe we'll see more of that this time. And again, maybe more with Jax's breakdown. Pomni being more assertive. The other characters, it's like, they're just kind of going along for the ride. I mean, Pomni, Jax, Kane are, like, the main characters, so it makes sense that they would, like, have bigger focuses and be more like in depth. They would have more depth than others, even though, like, I would love to see, like, other characters have more depth, but, you know, it's a limited series. It's not going to, like, delve too deeply into everyone. It just can't. And so it's going to focus on the characters who are most important. Now, if you could tell the fans that and have them stop, like, being shitty to Gooseworks and everything, that would be nice. Yes, I do know about that. I do know about, like, the fandom bitching at Gooseworks and just being absolutely terrible people because Jax and Pomni are the main characters and they want Ragatha or whatever to have bigger roles. And it's like, shut up. Just shut the fuck up. It's like, seriously. Just stop. People are idiots. But either way, I think we should get into this and see what we actually have in store. So let's check it out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Now, that's how you fucking do it. That is how you do an episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. This, by no means, makes last episode, I would say, for me, again, this is all subjective opinion, it by no means makes last episode okay. It by no means fixes last episode. Episode 8, or episode 7, rather, is still bad in my eyes. This does not change that. But this is probably one of the best episodes, if not the best episode of the show. I definitely have to see it again. I have to think about it more. But it's up there. This is pretty much what last episode was promising to be before the rug pull. Giving us actual lore. Giving us actual full answers. Like, we found out practically everything. So, CNA is a real company. They created Kane. Because CNA doesn't create games or anything. They create AI. They created Kane, who is a semi-successful AI. And Kane created the entirety of the digital circus. Somehow, a group of the original programmers got transported into this world through, putting on the helmets and stuff. That included Kinger, Queenie, and Scratch. Who, again, I'm assuming is the dog one that we saw, because none of the other original characters there looked any level of important. I'm assuming it was the dog one. After that initial batch started abstracting, which included Queenie, the first new arrival after that was Ragatha. Now, we don't know what happened in the real world to cause Ragatha to go in. We do know that, Pomni was, just exploring the abandoned building, right? Because she talked about doing that while they were at the bar. She would explore the abandoned buildings for YouTube and all. So, I'm assuming that's how she got in. But she's the newest one. So, we don't know how Ragatha got in. We don't know how Jax or Gangle or Zubul, how any of them got in. We don't know if they were, hired by CNA to try and go in and investigate. And they don't know. They don't have that memory. They have certain memories of themselves in their past, but they don't know their real names. And they don't know all the details about about how they got here. So that's fascinating for a number of reasons. But we see that, again, Ragatha was the first new member to join in. We saw Kinger start to, help her get through that, which, again, we had heard about, in episode 2. Kinger mentioned that to Ragatha, that he remembers when she was new and everything, and how freaked out she was. So, we actually get to see that here. We don't get to see any of the others' arrival. We don't actually get to see any of the others arriving, but I like that we at least get somewhat of a timeline for things. Because I didn't know that Ragatha was actually one of the oldest members here. I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I thought Ragatha was one of the newer ones of this group that we have here. I figured she might have come, just before Pomni. Or at least shortly before. Maybe Jax would have been just before. But I thought, Zubul or Gangle would have been there longer. I don't know why. It's just what I thought. So that's fascinating. But yeah, we find out that, it's not really fully said, but we get the grasp of everything. Kane is doing all of this because Kane is this hyper intelligent AI that is trying to basically create this world, go create all these adventures as a way of entertaining and maintaining all of the people here, all of the humans. And when all of them are abstracting and like Ragatha's a new one to join, you see how like excited he is because it's his purpose. It's all he does, all he's made for. And so he's supposed to be, you know, helping them live here basically. And he's doing everything he can think of. So as this series has progressed and they've like expressed dissatisfaction time and time again, and with like Bubble clearly not helping. I want to know what the fuck Bubble is. There's been a lot of theories about that. But Bubble clearly not helping, and then of course everyone like finally actually telling him off completely in this episode. He fully snaps. He fully just like takes full control of all of his powers and starts to basically use it as a threat to them, constantly torturing them in various ways to make it very clear that like he's doing this like as a way to, or he's doing this like with ultimate power basically. He has the control. He's the god of this world, as he puts it, and they have to listen to him because he can do whatever he wants with them. Which is technically true. But this clearly motivates them further to not give up. And with Kinger, like his lucidity coming back through the bucket helmet, like that even starts to affect Jax. You can see how like Jax starts getting freaked out the more Kinger's talking about everything. And he really realizes that this is all real. You could see the panic in his face, the same reaction he had in the bathroom a couple episodes back, where it's like everybody was wondering if he was going to abstract. And it's very clearly like him realizing, like he said, this is real. He's come to realize that this isn't just a game. This isn't just fake. This is fully real. That he is really a real person trapped in here with other real people. And you know he's got to be thinking about like everything that he's done, everything he's said, all the antagonizing he's perpetuated. And so you see, like when they start ganging up on Kane, you see him join in without like any arguments, and like pretty much after that, after that moment, he doesn't like he's not arguing or fighting with them as much anymore. Hell, this entire episode he was being a lot nicer, and you could tell he was a lot more like actually shaken by everything. I said it during the reaction, but Jax is probably the best written character in this. He has so much depth, so much nuance. He can simultaneously be my most hated character and my favorite. Overall, he's not my favorite. Like, overall, I think probably Pomni still is, with Ragatha close behind. In terms of main characters and everything, but I also really love Gummy Goo and so on. But Jax, again, is probably just the best written. The best actually, like realized character in terms of his overall like depth. Not that the others don't have it, but like it also makes sense, like with what I was saying in the pre-thoughts, which for those of you who are watching on Patreon, I talked about how there was this controversy recently about some fans like bitching at Gooseworks and Glitch because all of the focus is on Pomni and Jax, you know, despite the fact that they're the fucking main characters. And people bitching that characters like Ragatha aren't getting as much attention. It's like, yes, she's a side character. She's supporting cast. Jax and Pomni are the main characters. This is fucking obvious to anyone with more than 2 brain cells to rub together. And it's like all these people bitching and like chewing out Gooseworks and stuff and being just absolute shitty pieces of crap. it's like, can fuck off, honestly. Because it's like, no matter what you think about a series or how it's handling characters or what it's doing in the story, you don't treat the creators like that. Unless like they're doing something like actively like horrible and they're using their story and characters and whatnot in order to spread like insane bigotry or something like that, you don't go after the creators. Unless there's something like, I don't know, fucking J.K. Rowling. Like, yeah, like go after J.K. Rowling constantly. Like it's the correct moral and ethical thing to do to go after J.K. Rowling. But like most creators, it's like if you just don't like a direction a show takes, don't go after them like that. Don't be a piece of shit. Just don't do that. And so that entire like drama that was happening on social media was like stupid. And it's like I really just I hate fandoms sometimes. I really do. It's why I try not to like take super active part in a lot of them anymore. Like I used to be like super active in a couple fandoms, like the Brony fandom and the Steven Universe fandom and stuff. But it's like they started getting so aggressively toxic. The Steven Universe fandom got like insanely toxic. The Brony fandom started having a Nazi problem and a pedophile problem. And it's just like, yeah, I still love the shows and what they stand for in most cases and in for the most part. But it's like I can't stand behind the fandoms and I can't really take as much I can't put as much into them as I used to be able to. Take as much part in them. Um it's just there's certain aspects of it that I can't reconcile with. But that doesn't mean I like hate the shows or stuff. And again, unless someone working on the show is like actively bad or does something or says something actively bad, do not go after them. If it's just a direction you don't like, just live with it. You can voice your opinion, absolutely, but just don't be a piece of shit to the people making it. Just because you didn't like a direction it took. Um, yeah, Kane was like super threatening and scary in this episode. Like they actually made him genuinely frightening. I really like just I talked about it already, but I really like the moment where all the characters stand up. I really like seeing them all like find their courage to speak out and Pomni leading the charge with that. I just I loved getting to see like the nightmare sequences that Kane put them through. All of them like, you know, very specifically situated toward them. It was like super fucked up. And it was really fascinating. And this episode definitely tried to make it feel like the last episode was like it needed to be that way because they're like pushing the entire thing about like how they're losing hope and like trying not going to try to escape anymore and stuff like that. Um and they're talking to Jax about what he did and the entire argument about whether or not it's futile to try stuff like that and it's like I get that, but I still don't like how it was handled. And I'm going to leave that there. I just don't like how it was handled. That's me. That's my opinion. It's not going to change. I really don't believe it's going to change. Um, I noticed during this, like, obviously each episode, the character designs have, like, become more detailed, have, like, gotten just, like, you know, better animated and stuff. But I noticed, like, Pomni looked slightly different to me. I don't know if that's just me. Some of the colors look darker, and, like, even, like, seeing the scene where she's, like, looking at herself in the mirror as, a reflection, again, this time I realized the pun a reflection of that moment in the first episode where she does the same. It's like you could just tell looking at her. It's like her model has absolutely changed, like notably changed. And that's fascinating to me. I wonder if there's a more intentional aspect to it, like if there's a reason the creator Gooseworks and the animators all like intentionally changed her model to like maybe reflect her mindset and stuff. I don't know. But it's the only other character that I've really noticed changes like that with has been Zubul, and that's only because of Zubul changing out their parts. Like that's not the same. Zubul changing out their parts is very different than that. Um Gangle's mask has also gotten shinier over the episodes. There's that as well, I guess, but that's not that big of a deal. That's not like a notable change. Um I also like a lot of the creative imagery and stuff, not only for the characters, like what happens to them after like Kane has like tortured them and stuff, but just there's some creative shots and designs, specifically some creative styles. They play with a couple of styles. I mentioned there was like that 2D style that I think was supposed to be reminiscent of the anime sequence in the one episode where they were doing the lightning round. Um there's like just fun little things like that in this episode just sprinkled throughout. And yeah, my biggest question after this, above anything else, and I it might be different than most people's, it just is what the fuck up is with Bubble? Bubble has to be something, not just like a part of Kane. Like there's been so many theories again on who or what Bubble could possibly be, but Bubble has to be something or someone because the way that he was antagonizing Kane at the beginning of this felt way too intentional. It didn't feel like Bubble just being Bubble. It didn't feel like Bubble just, being the chaotic little gremlin that he is. No, it felt like an intentional, really like mean spirited decision. I don't know if Bubble's another AI, like a separate one. I don't know if Bubble is another like person who worked on it, another developer. I don't know, but Bubble is something. And I think there was a moment where Kane mentioned that he couldn't remember the name of someone or something else. I don't remember if it was another AI. I don't remember if it was another person, but there was something that he couldn't remember the name of at the time. And I'm wondering if that might be connected to that. So that's just like really fascinating to me. That the question of who or what Bubble is. Because I feel like we're not done with that yet. As for Kane, we have the ending here, of course, where Kane is like killed, deleted. Kinger accidentally deletes Kane's entire program, the entire AI from the system. And so Kane is just gone. I assume we're not going to see Kane anymore because I assume they're not going to like be able to bring him back because he's deleted. Unless there's like a recycle bin they can access. But I kind of think this would be a fitting way to end off Kane. Because I don't think there's like Kane's an AI. I don't think there's any reforming him. And this episode kind of feels like it entirely is supposed to be like a warning on the dangers of AI. And honestly, this entire series could be like seen as that, which is, good. Because AI should be seen as potentially dangerous. Obviously, it depends on how it's used, what it's used for. AI can absolutely be used for really good things. It can be used in the medical field, in scientific endeavors. That's where AI should be used. But like this seems like it is supposed to be more similar to generative AI. This is like a hyper intelligent AI that is able to create and maintain over the course of years, is able to create and maintain an entire like world, an entire game world that he has full unbridled control over. That seems pretty generative to me. So it feels like this is very much making a statement that is unfortunately super relevant. And obviously it was relevant when this first started coming out, when this series was like first, when the pilot first aired years ago at this point. When was that? Was that 2023, I think? I think it was October of 2023. I don't know why that. Usually I do not remember shit like that, but I don't know why. For some reason, that's coming straight into my mind really quickly, and I don't know if that's actually accurate, but that's what's coming to mind. um, but yeah, even back then, even a few years ago, generative AI was on the rise and everything, so it makes sense. It's such a big deal today in 2026 that it's like, yeah, this is unfortunately super relevant and very intense. But yeah, this was a phenomenal episode. Like I said, I'm gonna have to see it more. I'm gonna have to see it more times. And this one, unlike last episode, I will actually watch more. I will actually like rewatch this episode, unlike I did with the last one. I said in the pre-thoughts, but for those on Patreon, I only watched episode 7 like maybe twice total. Maybe 3 times, like maybe at absolute maximum. Because I really didn't like it that much. And so because of that, I didn't watch other people's reactions to it. I didn't rewatch it. I never even watched it with my sister. I normally show my sister a bunch of stuff like this. Hell of a Boss, Has Been Hotel, new stuff that comes out like Digital Circus episodes. We've watched the first 6, but I never watched episode 7 with her because I didn't want to watch it again. And I'm gonna, because I want to show her this episode and we have to go in order. But yeah, I never did. That's how much I wanted to avoid watching it again. That says a lot about how much I did not enjoy it. But again, that's all my personal opinion. If you liked the last episode, that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. Um, but again, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know, what did you think of this episode? What did you think of it like as a follow-up to last episode as well? Do you think it helped last episode work better? Or do you think it just made it even more clear how bad last episode was? If you didn't like last episode, of course. Um, just let me know your thoughts down below, and thank you so, so much for tuning in. Um, as always, if any trailers or anything comes out ahead of time before June 19th for the final episode, do not send any spoilers to me in the comments, in the Discord, anywhere. I try to go into everything I react to as spoiler free as possible. And so I rarely watch any trailers or any kind of like pre-release information, especially for projects like this. And just to be safe for like other viewers who might do the same, please don't leave them in the comments as well if you can help it. And if you put something like that on the Discord, just I would say please try to leave it spoiler tagged. Just spoiler tag it just to make sure that those of us who don't want to be spoiled don't see any spoilers. That's all I ask. You can absolutely share it to the Discord and stuff, just spoiler tag it. That's all. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, and thank you so much as always for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.